off too. He slid off the dock too, and the cars were sinking. And he managed to like stay above water, and he was struggling a lot. He was struggling a lot because like the waves were probably about, I don't know, like 3 feet high at the highest and like 2 to 3 feet high. It was pretty wavy, very disturbed water. Uh, uh, like the water was very disturbed. Like, let's say this is the Manhattan area or New York City, and how it has buildings all the way around like this, even coming around this side here. And like the water was pretty disturbed, like right around here. It was just like really disturbing the water a lot. So, like a lot. And so this guy is in the water, and he's like really, he's struggling. He is struggling, and the waves are like kind of intense and heavy. And I start looking at him, and like I can't help but watch him, and feel like oh, you know, like like that man needs to be saved, and my swimming ability isn't that great, and like really my swimming is not great. And like even for somebody that was a good swimmer or something, they would be leery to jump in that water because it was pretty intense. But all I could think about was this man, and I was watching him and his struggle and just trying to stay afloat, and the waves go all crazy. And and so this person that I was with, I remember like looking at them, and they looked at me, and like I don't know if they talked to me or were thinking towards me. But I got this like if that person told me or something, like if you want to go save them, like go save them, like go save him, you know. And I was like doubting somewhat like my ability, and especially that water, anybody would doubt their ability. And I was like, and like, but I felt this like this assurance, you know, like from this other person, like I could do it. And I know, as crazy as that sounds, and like if you use your faith or something, you can do things. So I'm looking at this man, and finally I didn't take that long to decide because I'm very concerned about him. And I finally jump into the water, and I'm swimming through these waves, and it feels kind of like a hurdle, and because the waves, but I am very like determined. I have this like dogged determination that I am going to help this man the best, like I'm going to help him. I want to save him. And so I'm swimming like if I'm a Navy SEAL or something. And but there is somewhat of a hindrance even for me too because of the waves, but I am very determined. And I finally make it to him, and I grab him, and he's like he wasn't expecting somebody to grab him. And I grab him and like pull him like to help him, like to grab onto me or something. And it's pretty intense little scene there. And so he like grabs onto me, and I start swimming, and we probably have about 50 feet like from that area where he's at, where that dock or that parking dock went down, and we're swimming, so it's like a closer distance from where he's at to the shore. And like I start swimming with all my might, and he's like kind of holding on, but then he starts helping, like, okay, you know. And so we finally make it like to the shore, and we kind of like drag ourselves up. We're soaking wet, and we both drag ourselves up a little ways, a few feet, you know, from the water. And it looks kind of like a gravelly area, sort of like a dirt with some gravel. And and I know I stand up, I get up, and I'm standing, and I'm looking at him, and he's like sitting down. He sits down, and he's kind of like going like this, like thinking like, what happened, like what just happened? Like everything caught him by surprise. He was like kind of traumatized in a way. And in a way, me too, you know, because like I was not expecting to see something like that. And everything was so crazy in a way. And like he didn't know, like New York City was like experiencing quakes, and I know I didn't tell him. And he looked up at me, and I think he was a little like, looked at me like, oh, like it turns out that I'm a woman. Like that had helped him, because I don't think there was any real time in that water to even know who grabbed you or who's pulling you or something. And so he looks up, and he finally has like a moment of to look at me, and like to really look at me. And he looks up, and he tells me like thank you. And I remember like telling him something like you're gonna be okay. And I walked away. So I walk away, and the dream ends, okay? And I walk away like satisfied and like somewhat impressed that I was able to do that. Like if you just, I don't know, like if your mind is so clear, and like nothing, like you don't have any doubt or something, I guess you can do it. You can do a lot of things. So that's kind of like how I did it. And so the dream ends, and so I know you're probably thinking, well, what happened to New York City? Well, I'm going to tell you what I saw, what was about to happen to New York City. It was what was about to happen. And another thing that I knew is that nobody knew that was going to happen. Like it was just going to happen one day. And like it was just something that was going to happen one day unsuspectingly. And probably people that would look at the waves and wonder what was going on, they would probably think, is there a hurricane coming that we didn't know about or something? Because it would kind of resemble that, but there wasn't wind in the air or anything. It was quaking. It was like I was seeing cracks forming underneath the city. And yes, obviously, earthquakes. It wasn't just one large earthquake. It was quaking in at least 3 or 4 areas, what I could see. And as for, you know, helping somebody like that afterwards, I thought about it. And I do watch like some phenomenal videos about people being saved, and some street camera picked up something, and somebody just like, some person just appears out of the blue and saves somebody immediately and drags them to safety, and then just like walks away. And that's kind of like what I did. I just walked away like satisfied that I helped this person. And I remember feeling a lot of compassion and for him, a lot of compassion. And so to me, if I am seeing, or if I did see something futuristic, to me, that's, in my perspective, that's like a form of time travel. And in my perspective, God can do anything. So it's like kind of like a form of time travel, where I was there physically. Something happened, that some heroic action happened in my perspective, helping somebody there, some unsuspecting soul, and dragging them or helping them to safety and walking away. And in my perspective, that is like I was already there physically. Like I was already there. and it's not going to happen for me again. But I'm not going to be there when that event takes place because I was already there. And this person for New York City and for that man, it's yet to happen. But in my perspective, I was already there and it already happened. So I don't know how to explain that any better, but I think God works in mysterious ways, and it was pretty real to me. And I don't know if that, I can't tell you for sure if that would, if that's really what would happen to New York City, but that's what I saw. And it was focused mainly on the city and underneath the city. Like, if it's like that city is important, that one, like, more important, I suppose, in these other cities, more important, like, I don't know, worldwide. But that quake was underneath that city, these cracks, mainly New York City. And I know I've studied afterwards the geography, and I know that a lot of these surrounding areas here, Staten Island, all these places, were built on bedrock. But the main, I don't know if you would call it a target, I don't know, but the main event was right under New York City. As to how any triggered fault lines happen after that, I don't know, and I didn't see the aftermath, and I did not see the devastation. And maybe I was spared of that, because that would have been great. And so I don't know the amount of devastation it would take or what it would suffer. But I was seeing what was just about to happen to New York City, and it was going to suffer some substantial amount of destruction. So if any of you think, and if you live there or any other city, and if you have a gut feeling that maybe, you know, you would be in a safer place, because there's a lot of cities, and there's like Los Angeles is on a fault line. And if you feel that, like, or maybe it's just the politics that are happening, or certain things, I would consider leaving the cities. I would consider leaving them to be in the safer areas or better areas, and like, not just New York City. But what I saw is this city was going to be destroyed by an earthquake, and not one big earthquake. There were several quakes, mainly affecting that city. Okay? And it was going to suffer a substantial amount of destruction. So that's all I have to say about that particular dream. And I have had other dreams throughout my lifetime. Ever since I was a teenager, I've been having dreams. So some of them shorter. So I just figured it was probably about time I start sharing those dreams. And I like to listen to other people's dreams. But I know they're just dreams, but some dreams are just so real. They just really feel that way. So just consider those words if you live in a city. New York City.